in the end, I believe we are all aborigines to the land. We are different tribes, different cultures. We are the same. Once we understand that and we stop looking at colors or race or where you're from or what's your title, it's when humanity will be able to reach unity, and start living from the heart and guiding one another with love.
This episode contains discussions of sensitive topics including sexual abuse, suicide, and life-threatening situations. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the AudioLife podcast, where we tell your story in your voice. I'm your host today, Grace Chen. And today we get to speak with Karola Castro, a woman of strength, an advocate for women and families, and a rising leader in Honduras. Her life's journey through discrimination, abuse, and profound personal challenges epitomizes resilience and the quest for identity. Join us as we explore her inspiring journey of transformation. Karola, welcome to the podcast.
Greetings and thank you very much, Grace. Greetings to all the listeners and AudioLife podcast. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, very excited to have you here, and we have so much that we want to learn from you today. So I'm going to get right into it and ask you the first question. Can you please start by telling us where you were born, and is there a story behind your name?
Yes. I was born in the city of La Ceiba in the department of Atlantis in Honduras, Central America. And the story behind my name, I would say this was my mother's name. And in the time where she was born, in the place that they put the records, they didn't put Karola. So they just put Veronica. And my mom, when she went to get her birth certificate, realized that they've been calling her Karola her whole life, when she was like 12, I guess. And when she went to get it, they're like, no, your name is Veronica Brown. And she's like, oh, whenever I have a daughter, I'll name her Karola. And that's why my name is Karola.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. It didn't work for your mother, but it definitely works for you. It's a lovely name. How about, what are 3 words you would use to describe yourself?
3 words to describe myself. That's pretty tough. I will say that I'm very creative. I am very loving in my own way, but I also am a woman with a lot of hope.
Creative, loving, and you said hope?
Yes.
Those are powerful. I'm sure we're going to hear and understand more of that about you as we dig into more of your story. So you're from Honduras, native to, and still there now. Is that correct? Is that where you're located right now?
I am native. I'm an original Aborigine, indigenous from the land. Yes, I was born. My great-grandmother and my great-great-grandmothers are from this country. And I was born here, I was raised here, and I am here right now, and I'm happy to be in this beautiful, amazing country.
Tell us more about Honduras, and maybe not everyone in the audience who's going to be listening to this knows much about the country. Or so, what are let's say 2 or 3 things that you think people should know about Honduras?
Oh, well, we are in the middle of the Americas because we are in Central America, which is still America. We're in the middle of the Americas. And also, one of the things that I will say, it's a magical place. It's very, very, very beautiful. You will have to come here to experience.
I can't wait. You've mentioned how beautiful it is in our other chats as well. So it must be such a great environment to be in. Let's talk about your early childhood, or just family and childhood combined. Start off by telling us a little bit about what childhood was like for you. What was it like growing up?
as far as remember, as a child, I've been an entrepreneur since I was a kid. My mom, in Honduras, normally children's they put to work, and my mom she started working since she was 6, and when I was 6 years old, she used to send us to sell pan de coco, which is coconut bread or fried fish, and we always have a full house, of children's. It's only 3 of us, my older sister, myself, and my brother. But my mom raised a few of my cousins, so the house was always full house, always children's, always active and playing and entrepreneurs as I look back.
Well, then, and we'll hear more, but that theme continues on throughout your life later on. So that's a great starting point. Can you share a little bit, maybe a little bit more about your family? Your family. You mentioned your mother, but who else was around you growing up?
Well, I'm a hybrid. I call it a hybrid because my mom is a maroon, dark complexion, what they call black nowadays, and my father is Ladino, which is a mixture of the indigenous and the European, the colonizers. So my mother's side of the family were not happy with my mom being pregnant of this white person. They called them, but they're Latinos, as I say before. And my father's side was not happy because my mom he was with this black woman. So I suffered discrimination, I guess, since I was in the belly of my mother. And as I grew, as a kid, I suffered lots of discrimination from both of my families. Uh, my grandmother hated black people, and my mom lost her mom when she was 10 years old. So I have aunts and my grandfathers and cousins, and they were not really grateful grateful to us, because they will look at us like, oh, who they think they have that little color. So it was really, really challenging, because I was not sure if I was a human or what I was. I was not white, but I was not black. And through that also was a lot of things that happened when I was like 5 years old. My father decided to travel out of the country, and he went to America, to New York City to be very specific. And I always say that since that time, my life, and I'm pretty sure my brother as well, life, because it was my brother and I living in that particular moment with my mom and my cousins, our lives transformed. But I'm going to talk about my experience. My mom is a person very giving, and she trusts everybody. So a lot of people, family members, will come to the house to abuse us, and mentally, physically, and sexually. And involve one of her brothers, her younger brother. He is the first person that I have memory that he started like touching me when I was around 5 years and a half, and doing all kind of things to the girls, because it was like 4 girls, and they were used to sleep in the same bed. And in the middle of the night, or when my mom will go to school, because she didn't have the opportunity to go to school when she was a kid, she started going to school as an adult, and she will let us with her brother and his girlfriend. And before, we used to go to bed at 6 a.m., and he will come and start touching us and abuse us. And I remember that I didn't like it, and I asked him, why are you doing this? And he was like, oh, it's just for you guys to grow up. So I didn't, as a child, I think you don't understand. You think that it's like playing, I guess. And at that moment, I thought it was like kind of like a game. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I can say about when I was around 5. Then my mother, she graduated, and she wanted to study. She wanted to be the first person in the family to go to university, but it was in the capital of Honduras, which is Tegucigalpa, is 8 hours away from where we live. And she talked to my dad about it, and they come with the conclusion that we were going to be put in his mother house. But through that, I would say friends of my mom's from college and neighbors will come and abuse us as well. And once we went to my grandmother's house, I was about 9 years old, 8.5, 9. I can say it's when I enter hell, which I call it.
The experience you've had from the very, very early age, 5 years old, what you just described, to me, it sounds mind blowing. But is that normal? Is there a cultural element to a societal element to the fact that the home becomes an unsafe place like yours was? I don't know if that's the right way to ask, but let me just, the events that occurred in your life starting from the age of 5, is that something related to culture and society?
I will say yes and no, because it happened in so many places. In so many places, it's just that it's more like a secret. People keep it so secret, and it is as a woman, as a child, and as an adolescent, it's something that you don't want to bring up. You don't want to bring it up because it's really painful. It's really embarrassing. And you feel basically worthless. So I guess most of us as women, I'm talking because I'm talking from my point of view, we avoid to talk about it, but I really don't think that it's cultural. I think it could happen anywhere, but I can say that it's something that happens a lot before, and it continue happening nowadays.
Okay. Thank you. I know I interrupted you, but you were just talking about turning 8.5 and 9, and that's when it became like hell for you.
Yes, because we went to live to my grandmother's house. She is from a place called Olancho here in Honduras, which is the capital of the coffee. And by those people who don't know, our coffee, I think, is number 5 in the world. It's one of the best coffees. And she was born there, and most of the people who lived there at that time, they were very pale skin and straight hair, so they called themselves white, although, like I say, they're Latinos. And the level of prejudice there, it's really heavy. Plus, in that particular area, it's a very territorial place. Like, not everybody can go and live there because it's like, this is my place, and people get killed a lot there. So when we went to live there, I understood what was hatred, because she makes sure to let me know that she hated Black people. She will say so many things like, my son married that Black woman because she did black magic on him. You guys, if a Black person come to Olancho and married a white woman or a white man, they will make ground beef with them with a machete, stuff like that. She will tell me, and she will basically abuse me physically a lot, to the point that she used to grab me from my head and punch me in the walls. The house that she lived in, it was a concrete house. So her favorite thing to do was grabbing me from the hair, because one thing that I didn't mention, every time that I used to go and visit her, she used to cut my hair because I have a big afro, and she wanted my hair to be straight. So one day my mom is like, why are you doing this? And she's like, because I want her hair to go straight. And my mom says, she's Black. I'm Black. Her hair is going to be afro for life. And I think she hated so much that hair that was her favorite place to grab me to hurt me. And also in the house were 3 other sisters of my father's. and two brothers, and the three sisters. They were abusing, like they used to beat me up, bully me, and treat me really, really, really mean. And the two brothers, they used to like um, touch me and do some sexual harassment on me when I was that age. Also, there was a cousin who lived there, and he also, whenever I was taking a shower, because there was one bathroom, he will just get in there and start doing sexual things on me. And I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand. I thought, okay, this happened before and it's happening now. So it was a normal thing that in the end, I ended up honestly like just waiting. Oh, tonight, they're going to come and I'm just going to be there. And I remember I used to love sports very much. So I used to like running. I was really fast as a kid, and climbing also. So I used to climb the trees, and I was in this mango tree. And, I was sitting and thinking, because one thing that I didn't mention, my family, both they were very Christians. And when I say Christians, they go to church, Catholic and evangelic Methodist. So they were very, very into God. So I couldn't understand if there was a God, why these people who go to church and praise the Lord, they will come and do all these awful things to me. So as I was sitting in that tree, in that branch, staring as a vine of mangoes, it looks like a grapevine, but it full of mangoes, and I'm thinking, I think I should jump, because it was like 3-story tall. The mango trees in Honduras are very, very tall. They can grow up really tall. And I thought about jumping. And when I was like, yeah, I'm going to jump, all of a sudden something flew through my face. And I hear, bring down that monkey baboon, Olingo. Olingo is a type of like a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
Those was her favorite words. She used to call us negros, olingos, babunos, which mean you're black, you're monkeys, you're baboons. You are like a orangutan type of things. And plus, I was in the tree. So the first thing that came to my mind was like, I'm going to grab that mango vine. And I grab it and I start throwing mangoes on them. And they run into the house, and I get myself down so quickly that I don't even know how quick I was. And I run, and I went to my aunt's house, and I begged my aunt from my mom's side to please get me out of that hill. I cannot take it anymore. I'm going to go crazy. And my aunt say, that's where your mom and dad decide to leave you, and I'm going to bring you back. So she brought me back there, and my grandmother that particular day was so angry that she's like, you're going to sleep outside. So she left me out sleeping that night. I remember there was a little bench made with a piece of wood and two pieces of, those concrete blocks that they make houses. And I was laying there, child laying there. And I guess one of my neighbors, they used to hear all the screaming and stuff. One of my neighbors felt so bad that she came and she's like, I'm going to let you sleep in my car. So she opened her car and she put me to sleep in the back seat of her car. And like around 4 a.m., I think, I'm not too sure, I was a child. She started like banging, get out of there. And she bring me in the house and beat me up. So
Your grandmother.
Yes, my grandmother.
How many years did you end up staying with your at your grandmother's house?
I stayed there until I was about almost 12. I was at 3 years, almost 3 years.
That's a long time. If you could say anything to young Karola, 8, 9-year-old, if there was anything you could say to her. Obviously, you've already lived that. That's a lived experience for Yuri, so you can't do that over again. But if you could tell her something, what would you tell her?
I will tell her that I'm so proud of her because she did pretty good. Pretty good. I don't think I will be able as a woman to take all those things. It's too much. I have 2 daughters. And I take care of them so much. I don't even trust my shadow with them. So I will tell her that I'm very, very proud of her.
Yeah.
That she did really good.
Yeah. Thank you. So therefore, you have to be incredibly proud of yourself. You do. You have a book in you, Karola. You probably should write a book at some point. There's so much experience that you've passed through multiple lifetimes. Is what when I listen to you, you've survived, pushed through, good, bad, everything. You've lived a very multi-chapter life already. But as far as your younger life, were there any? Do you have any fond memories? Were there any just really happy, even if it was a moment or two? Do any stand out to you?
Of course. When my father was in Honduras, I will say he loved me so much. I was his queen. And I always have good memories with my dad and my mom, of course, because as I said, she's a very giving person, a very, very giving and loving woman. It's just that she was abused as well as a child, and she never treated that trauma. But memories, great memories with my mom. She used to take us to the beach. We were, people will say, oh, you guys were poor, but I don't think we were poor. I think we were just living, but we always have good food because in my ancestors, they inherit us really the art of cooking. So in my house, I will say there was always good food. And that's one of the greatest things. Also, there was always a lot of children until this day. If you go to my mom's house, there is always kids there. Also, she used to take us to the beach. She used to take us to the mountain, the mountain that I love so much. Those were my place of healing as a kid. When I used to go there, I connect with nature so much that I forgot of all the negativity that was going on in my life. So fun memories, of course. Many.
That's beautiful. And correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you had a good relationship with your father and your mother. It was more that all the surrounding environment and other people and places and environments that didn't work so well, obviously. But your own core family was quite a powerful, not just memory, but a powerful identity maker for you. You're a strong woman for a reason.
And now for a word from our sponsors. Ready to share your stories and life philosophy, or capture those of a parent or grandparent? Or maybe a corporate package is right for you to build connection across your workforce and add value to your clients. Visit audiolife.io today to learn more. Our listeners will get 10% off using discount code GIFT10 and order number AudioLife Podcast. AudioLife, where memories find their voice.
Let's talk about education and career a little bit. We'll switch over to this topic. Did you attend school or receive any formal education? And were there any societal norms that influenced this?
Yes, I used to go to school, like I say, after school we used to come and go and selling, as a kid. But school is one of the things that marked me as well. because we have a teacher there who was the principal of the school, and she didn't like Black people. And in that particular school, it was all girls' school, and I think, as far as I remember, I was the only Black. So one day, my older sister, she didn't grow up with us, but she came to the house because we did some, kid stuff with my brother, and she was so angry with us that she beat me up so much that my eye was swollen in my mouth. She burst my mouth. So when I went to the school in Honduras, before you go to class, you have to go outside in school, all the school, and we pray and we sing the national anthem. And when she saw me, she bring me to the front and she told everybody, "Did you see this right here? She's gonna be either a prostitute or a criminal when she grow up." And that marked me so bad because she did a different bullying things to me, but it was like, okay, I'm not having fun at home, but I'm not having fun at school either. So I was not the brightest kid in school because I always been very creative. I love music and art and all that kind of stuff. So I was not the best student, and it was fine. Then I moved to high school, and she was the director of the high school as well. Yeah, and she did so much for me not to go in that high school. Like, she didn't want me to be there, but my mom, because she did an adult education, when she went to high school when she was like 30, I think, or 20 something. And everybody loved my mom in that high school. So they're like, "What? No, she's the daughter of Pluxi." That's how they call my mom. And I was let in, but she was trying to kick me out so bad from the school until I did like stupid things with some high school kids there, that these kids came from America, that from vacation they bring this little thing and they're like, "Karola, throw it in the floor," and I throw it, and it was like a chemical thing that make the whole place stink. And they got detention like that, they were thrown up for 2 weeks, but she expelled me out of the school completely. So yeah, and this is in 1992. I was about like 14 years old. And then also it was they celebrate here in this city the carnival, which is the biggest celebration of carnival in Honduras, the one from La Ceiba. And that year, my mom wanted me to participate, and I participated, and I became queen of the carnival. So it was a big thing because it was like, I'm the queen of the carnival, but I'm just expelled from school. It was so many things together that I was like, oh my goodness. But yeah, and I got to experience high school until I will say, because I think in other countries you go to 12 grades, but here you go primero, segundo, tercero. I will say maybe like 13, if there's such a thing over there. And the reason was because I got pregnant when I was 16 years old. I got pregnant, and from there, everything started going like downwards again, because my mom was really, really upset with me because she wanted me to marry with the white dress in the church with, like typical wedding and stuff. And it was like, I invested all my life in you and you pay me with this. So I became like her worst enemy because of it. So it was, and then the guy that got me pregnant, he was like, "I'm not going to be responsible of that child." So there was me with this belly as a kid, because I was a child. I was a very young girl, teenager, and my mom started being really, really mean. towards me because of the anger that she had.
Yeah.
So it was really hard, but I got to meet this guy who was 13 years older than me, who gave me a job. He started a tourist company here because this is the touristic place in Honduras. Like, this was the capital of tourism in Honduras at the time, and the water rafting and the hiking and canopy, all those kind of things. There was only one company here, and he was going to open this one, so I started working with him. And as I started working with him, he fell in love with me, and we started dating. And he took care of my pregnancy, and in the end, he also take care of the baby and give him his last name without me even asking. He's like, I want to be the father of this child. And he became the father of my daughter.
That's incredible. First of all, such courage that teenagers around the world are accidentally getting pregnant probably, and it's definitely, I can absolutely empathize how devastating that is for a family, for parents. It literally turns your world upside down. But such courage for you to hold on to the baby and see the pregnancy through, and then you were really on your own in so many ways, right? That's a powerful story. You grew up very fast, Karola. I would say starting from 5. By the time you were 16 was another season of growing up. Let's continue on the career path. And really, when I listen to you tell your story, everything is interwoven. Your personal, your career, and education, all of that they all happen at one time. The job that you took with this, or working with this gentleman, and then were you partners with him, or he just, where did that relationship go? And then also, how did it impact your job choices going forward? What was the next chapter looking like?
Yeah, well, we worked together for almost 4 years. So the company that he started, it was doing great, but he had 2 partners, and they were in Tegucigalpa, and he was the one who was doing all the work here. And I guess, partnerships, sometimes they don't work, so they split up, and he ended up having nothing. So my mom really, really loved him because he took me with the pregnancy. She really, really loved him. So he came and lived with us at my mom's house, because it's where I was staying for a year, until he started doing really long tours, like going to a place called La Mosquitia, where it's deep in the jungle, where people experience that real jungle fever thingy. And also Copan Ruinas, which are the pyramids of Mayas here in Honduras. Is one of the most important pyramids that are Copan. And because we have the hieroglyphic book, which is a book that is written in hieroglyphic in stones, they call it La Escalinata. It's some stairs, but it's beautiful. It's amazing. I recommend everybody to Google that. So he started doing great, and then he rented this apartment, and then we went to live together. And I started working with him. I used to be the one who cooked for the tourists, and also I used to drive them up the mountains so they can come in the water rapids down, meet them halfway, they have some food, and then I pick them up in the end. And we worked together for almost 4 years, but he got jealous because, when you work with tourists, you have different type of groups. So this particular time there was this group from Spain, and they mentioned to him, oh, your wife, I was not married with him, but we were living together, she's really beautiful and everything, but she's so serious, because I always have this serious face. I think it was a wall that I started building for everything that happened to me as a child. And I never told anybody. Like, this thing I never shared, not even with my mother. And he's like, you have to be more happy with my clients, because they are the one who feeding us, and this is a group of 7, and they want to do 7 days with us, and blah blah blah. So I'm like, okay, so invite them to the house and I will make some food. So I make a beautiful meal and they have so much fun and they treat my daughter so sweet. And they're like, oh, we want to take you for lunch tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, let's go lunch, And he got really, really jealous to the point that that day when we went for lunch with them, after lunch, they take me with the baby and they take us shopping spree. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. They really, really like us. And when I got home that afternoon, he started like telling me all kind of things. And I'm like, well, you asked me to. Now I don't understand why you were tripping. I didn't say tripping, but that's the word that came to my mind right now. And he just started beating me. Started beating me up like he was beating his worst enemy. And I was like screaming, and he was kicking me and beating me. And he was a military before. Mm-hmm. And after he beat me up, I guess he got in his like, what did I just did? Yeah. So he went and he got a gun and he's like, here, shoot me. And I was like, no. So I throw the gun, and the gun, because he had it ready, the gun shoot a bullet, but it didn't. It went somewhere, and then he looked and he's like, you tried to kill me? I'm like, no, I just throw the gun. I don't want a gun. So he continued beating me. So that in the morning when I woke up, I saw my face, this figure, like my nose was broken, my eyes, and then I was like, when my face got back together, I'm gonna leave you. That's what I say to him. And he thought that I was joking, and I left. Then he went to tell my mom to not take me because he beat me because I was flirting with the tourists. That's what he say. And my mom is like, yeah, because over here in that time, it was very normal for the men to abuse women that way. Men were very, very abusive at that time. They probably still, but at that time it was so normal. She's like, yeah, you can beat her. I give you the permission. And I was like, my mom is basically telling him that he can do whatever he wants to do with me. And I left the house. I went back to my mom's house, and we tried to get back together, but he was so into like doing the tourist thing that he met a couple from Germany that they wanted to have like sexual games, and I'm like, I'm not into those kind of things. So I basically left the relationship. But we continue being good friends because he asked me to please never take the baby away from him because that was his daughter. And I said, if you want to be the father, you're going to be the father until you die. And that's the way it was. He was the father until he died. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
You only mentioned the word trauma once so far in this interview, and I just thought that was interesting because all along, everything that you've experienced, especially as a young girl growing into a young woman, every experience shaping you, but also you've been hurt by so much of it. It's an incredible process that you've had to go through. But nowadays, you would hear the word trauma very, very soon in any conversation. So I thought that was interesting. And something you said in this story, and I didn't realize, is that you kept hidden, or you haven't told, at that point, you hadn't told, for instance, your mother. When you said that, did you mean you hadn't told her a lot of the things that have happened to you when you were young? You kept it.
Yeah.
You've built a wall. You were protecting yourself all those years because there was no one to protect you.
It was because I saw what happened to some family members, and I will say my sister as well, when they mentioned that they were abused, they were treated. Before, people don't believe children. Let's be honest. Whenever a child come and say something to you, well, they will be lying and you will be beat up, beat up so bad. So for me, it was like, what is the point of sharing this if I'm going to be beat up? They're not going to believe me. And then that's going to be a cause of bullying all the time. Because once you share that, people use your pain to destroy you. And I learned that with life. And so I'm not saying that my mom was going to use that to destroy me, but when my sister told her the first time she got raped by her brother, she was really mad. And she's like, why you didn't tell me? That mean that you like it. So, and it's not that she said it in a mean way. It's just the mentality that they put in her when she was a kid as well. If somebody raped you and you didn't say anything, it's because you like it. And it's about the education system and the way you are brought up and the way you've been treated. Before, our ancestors, the ones that are not here anymore, they used to be really, really, really rude and tough. They used to treat children like they're non-existent. Like I didn't have the right to speak when I was a child. She didn't have the right to speak when she was a child. Her mother didn't have the right to speak when she was a child. They were whipped. I remember as a kid, I used to, like, whenever we got punished, she used to get a grater, where they grate cheese, and they make this with this metal thingies, and we have to, like, not sit on our knees and when our hands up there for half an hour. And it's because it's been done to them. They did it to us because that was the way to have good citizens, right? That's what the system taught us. And I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty sure that I did it with my oldest daughter, not with the youngest, because I was ignorant as well at that particular time. When I was pregnant, I thought, like, the same way that I was raised, I'm going to raise my daughter so she can be a really good person. And I didn't even know that I would have trauma because you mentioned it, right? I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know all the anger and pain that I have in my heart, So those things I learned as I grew older. And yeah, so it's just like, I believe nowadays we have to be aware that children's actually they smarter than us. We should be able to watch them and see the way they live their life, and also if they have something to say, listen to them.
Yes. Listen to them. The part where you're talking about it is a generational passing down of practices and ways and traditions of doing things and mindsets of how children should be treated, for instance. That's a very powerful and scary system that we many cultures probably also have in there. It's no wonder you were describing that you didn't even realize what was going on was a bad thing. And so therefore your mother and her mother, and it just keeps coming down generation after generation. So then one has to wonder, when does that change and how does that change? At what point does one person or a group of people or then a whole society start to realize, okay, we cannot be doing this anymore? And do you have any thoughts on that? What would it take to change how children are seen, for instance?
Yes, I do believe that first we have to be aware and accept that those patterns are colonization. We have to be able to understand that, because once you understand how colonization works, you understand how everything's work together.
Mm-hmm.
When you colonize, like, for example, if I go to your country or to your town and I want to take over, but I'm not from there, I'm going to put you against your own people. I'm going to put you to fight. I'm going to make you treat your kids bad. I'm going to make you treat your daughter, your sister, your brother. I'm going to make you do all those terrible things to you. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to be a master. So I understand that. And because I understand how colonization works, I decided that I'm not going to be part of that. I'm going to be able to cut those generational courses. That's how people call it nowadays. But it's a system that has been planted to humans in general for us to be able to see colors, cultures, race of who we are. In the end, I believe we are all aborigines to the land. We are different tribes, different cultures. We are the same. Once we understand that and we stop looking at colors or race or where you're from or what's your title, it's when humanity will be able to reach unity, and start living from the heart and guiding one another with love.
That's powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Stay tuned for part 2, where you will learn about Karola's continued journey from the Cayman Islands to New York to the west coast of the US, and then finally back home to Honduras, where genuine healing, restoration, and transformation begin.
If you like what you heard today, consider recording your own AudioLife private podcast or giving one to a loved one for a unique and memorable gift. Today, AudioLife listeners will receive 10% off using discount code GIFT10 and order number AudioLife Podcast. Also, remember to rate our show and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode.